Okay, hello you guys, welcome back to another video. And as you can see by the title, I have got some shocking news that I was not expecting. So I really don't know where to begin. So let's just start by, I'm recording this video in the car because, let's see, it is 5:47. I got up at 4 and I decided to make this video because I couldn't sleep. And the kids are still sleeping and I don't want to wake them up this early because it'll make for a long day for me. So hence why I look all crazy, and it's dark in here and I'm in the garage. So let's just start from the beginning. So I took an Ancestry DNA test, just pretty much because my father, at least who I thought was my father, but we'll go into that later. My father was born in Louisiana, and apparently all of his family had died in Hurricane Katrina, with an exception of like a couple brothers and some other siblings that I've never met. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna go on the search and I'm gonna try to find them. Well, I took the test. It's been about a month, I don't know, a little over a month, because it took me a couple weeks to get the test and I sent it back the next day. So it took me, I would say, about 2 months. So my results were, I don't have them pulled up. Yeah, I'm not gonna go through all of it, but I'm just gonna put it on the screen or insert a side, whichever one I decide. But yeah, those are my results. I'm like 42% Nigerian, or from Nigeria, and that's fine. It really didn't show anything special about my DNA, because like 1 in every 7 African American people are Nigerian. So I was like, okay, that's fine. And then I go to look at my matches, and when I pulled up my matches, it came up with someone as close family. And if you ever took an Ancestry DNA kit, you know that they give you ranges of how this person can be related to you. So it's like, if this person is either like your half sibling, half grandparent, or something like that, of that nature. And so I'm like, okay, we're like really close and we have a lot of DNA in common. I think it was like 1,079 cms. And then in the second person, it said it was either my first cousin or my half uncle. So I'm okay. We shared like, what was it, 1,096, I do believe, somewhere around there. It was pretty high amount, but not as close as the first person I matched to. And then I matched like all these third cousins. And I didn't expect any of them to sound familiar, just for the simple fact I don't know any of my dad's family. The only thing I do know is that they're from New Orleans. So I get to dig in, and I'm like Googling these names, typing them into Facebook, Instagram, and I found one of the people that they said could possibly be my half uncle. And I'm like, okay, maybe this is a coincidence. Maybe it's not the same person, because just for the simple fact that he was born in Evansville and none of my dad's family was born in Evansville. So I did some digging and I found out that he was adopted by my husband. My husband knew someone that was friends with him on Facebook. So I'm like, okay, yeah, we found out he was adopted. I'm like, okay, that's cool. Let's do some more digging. So I did some more digging, and I'm like messaging these people. They're not responding. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna go through their Facebook profile, see who they're in pictures with, and then I contact them, and they really didn't give me any information. At the time, I didn't know they didn't give me any information. Sorry guys, it's early. I've only had 3 hours of sleep. I found all this out yesterday, so I'm making this video. So yeah, they didn't really give me any information because they didn't know if I was who I said I was. So they did their own research. So they pretty much did all the work for me. So after I established she wasn't going to give me information and everyone else I messaged wasn't going to give me information, I decided to just leave it alone. I was like, okay, this is really stressing me out. It got to the point where I was constantly just messaging people, trying to figure out things, and it was not going my way. People were not wanting to answer me. Excuse me. So I was like, okay, I'm taken away from mentally, this is taken away from me. My kids are, I'm not paying them any attention. So I was like, okay, I have to stop this. I can't stress myself out trying to find these people. So the next day, I decided I was going to set time aside in the morning. And I get up at usually around 3 or 4 every morning. It was this new thing that I've started and helps me be more productive during the day with the kids, and I get to start my day before they do, so I start my day stress free. Okay, I am all over the place, guys. Sorry. So, I get to looking into everyone they say I'm matched with. I have a cousin on my mom's side who took an Ancestry kit as well. And so anybody that we match with together, I just assume was from my dad's side because, we're only related on my mom's side. And I know that for a fact. So when it said we share common matches, I look for these people that they said I were closely sorry guys. I look for these people that they said I was closely related to, and it was nowhere in her list. So I'm like, okay, I think I just found my half brother and my half uncle. So I started putting a star by everyone that was not in her list. And I'm like, okay, all these people are on my dad's side. And then as I get to looking into these people, I'm like, wait, they're all from like Indiana and Kentucky. My dad's family is from Louisiana. None of them is from Evansville, Indiana, or Kentucky, or there was a couple that was in Memphis. And I was like, I don't know any of these people. They don't look familiar. None of the names sound familiar. I'm asking my dad. He doesn't know. So finally, when I found the person they said was my half uncle on Facebook, I was like, okay, I'm going to send a picture to my dad. He kind of looks like my dad, possibly my dad's other siblings. They had different dads. So I'm like, okay, there's a chance this can be his brother. And, I'm just going to send him a picture. So I send my dad a picture, and he's like, I don't know him. And I'm like, well, this calls for a problem, because if you don't know him, you're telling me that this man is related to me, but he's not related to you, which means one thing, that he's not your brother. So I'm like, oh crap, we're getting into more detail than I bargained for. My goal was to find my dad's family because I wanted to meet my siblings. I apparently, on my dad's side, I have two other brothers, and a sister that's in Germany because she's in the Navy. So I was like, I wanted to find them because I'm the youngest sister of my mom's children, and I've always wanted a younger sister. But I knew they wasn't going to be younger than me, but I wanted to find them anyways because I'm all about finding family and bringing family together. So let me make sure the camera's still recording. So after that, I decided to reach out to this man that said they were brothers on one of the guys that said that he was my uncle's pictures. So I reached out to him, and I'm like, hey, I took an Ancestry DNA kit. These are the people that I'm matching with. Do you happen to know any of them? If so, could you give me any information about who they are? And he was like, I know all of them. And then I was kind of confused at that point because the woman that I first talked to that was in a picture with my uncle said she didn't know any of them. And then my brother um, is related to the woman. So my brother's not related. My brother's girlfriend is related to the woman. So I asked her, I was like, do you know so and so? And she was like, yeah, he's related because he's her cousin. So the guy that I'm talking to that knows all these people in my list, but my brother's girlfriend doesn't know them. So I was kind of confused, and then she was like, he's related to me on my dad's side, somewhere in there, and his mom's side. Sorry guys, my thoughts are all over the place. So he was related to my brother's girlfriend on her dad's side, and then his mom's side is a whole totally different family. So I reached back out to him again, and I can't remember what exactly I said. Let me go back to it. Okay. So he just said, yeah, I know all of them. And then I left his message there because, I have, someone else that's in a picture with this guy that's supposedly my uncle. And she's like thumbs downing all my messages that I sent her, like, oh, you're not who you say you are, and none of this is making sense. So I left it alone. And then she calls me the next day, which was yesterday. She calls me, but at this time I'm spending time with my husband, and I left my Bluetooth at home, and everyone knows my phone is broken. So I can't use my phone without my Bluetooth. And so I called her. I sent her a message because she asked me what was my mom's name. And so when I got home, I sent her a message, and I was like, Pamela. My mom's name is Pamela. And she was like, can I call you? And I'm like, yeah. So she calls me, and she goes, so I was doing my own research, and I established a way that this makes sense. And I'm like, okay. So she gets to explaining it to me. She says, the reason that you match to your half uncle and then your half brother is because of this one person. We're gonna call him Bob. Bob is the one that I messaged him all the people, and he recognized all the names. So we're gonna call him Bob. She said, Bob is my half uncle's brother. They have different I think different dads. Can't remember exactly what she said. Bob is my half uncle's half brother, and then my half brother is Bob's son. I was like, wow, that makes a lot of sense. That clarifies a lot of things. I actually know Bob, and I've met him. Not really introduced myself, but 7 years ago we worked for the same company, and I worked there for a year, and yeah, so pretty much the woman said, Bob is your father, and she said that's the only way that this makes sense. And she said, because my half brother is his son, and that's the only way that all this makes sense. So I'm like, okay, so now I need to call my mom. At this point, I'm not ready to talk to her because I want to make sure I have a definite answer that Bob's my father. But I was talking to my husband. He was like, just ask her if she know who Bob is. So I was like, I text her. I said, Mom, do you know who Bob is? And she said yes. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm in shock. Um, but at the same time, I knew the Evansville's a small place, so people know people. And so I left that when she texted me yes, and then about 10 minutes later, she says, why do you ask? And I was like, well, my Ancestry DNA results are matching Bob's brother as my uncle and Bob's son as my brother. And that's when she tells me, oh, I didn't expect to cry. I mean, I'm lacking sleep and everything. That's when she tells me that when she was with my dad, she was also with Bob. But she stopped seeing Bob after my dad said that he wanted another boy for my brother, my older brother, to play with. So at this point, it's just like, it's shocking. It's different. I've always felt different than my siblings. You know, I don't look like my dad. I don't. I have more of my mom's DNA. Just like I look like my mom. So I never really thought my dad wasn't my dad until for the past couple months my dad has, you know, made hints like, oh, you're not mine, or I don't know if you're mine, or stuff like that. And um that's why I was really like excited when I got the Ancestry kit, because I was just ready to find my brothers and sisters. I didn't expect to get a whole new father. And it's just like, what do you do? I'm 26. Um, this one man that I, you know, thought was my father, you know, it turns out he's not. And when I got married last July, he always told me, he said, I just want to live long enough to walk my baby girl down the aisle. And my dad has a lot of health issues, and you know, he can't really walk because he can't hold his eyes. His muscle in his eyes don't allow him to keep his eyes open for long periods of time. So if he actually wants to engage in people, he has to hold his eyes open. So he has a lot of health problems. And I always told him, I said, you got me feeling like, you know, after I get married, you know, you're going to pass on, and I'm not ready for that. And he was like, well, just when it's my time, it's my time, you know. And my dad's that type of person. And, you know, you hear all these stories. You hear all these stories about people dying of a broken heart. And I'm at the point where I'm like I'm struggling whether or not I want to even tell him or not. Just because, I mean, you hear so much about people dying from a broken heart, and I know my dad, like, I don't want him to go to his grave thinking, you know, I was his, but at the same time, I don't want him to treat me differently, because I'm not. You know, I mean, I'm 26 years old. There's nothing for my biological dad to do in my life. I mean, you know, my dad has already made such an